Now we come to our last speaker, Kai. I could tell you a few stories about Kai, but I'll probably leave you to him to tell you a few stories about himself. But one of the most exciting and interesting things about Kai, when he arrived in business information systems and we started to talk, was I discovered that I'd found a like mind in the way that he started to think about and was thinking about technology. Kai thinks about technology as innovation. He thinks about it as new ways and new opportunities of doing things. And he also does some really fascinating work about understanding how people use technology and how it's more about people than it is about the technology in and of itself. So he's going to talk to us a little more today, and I'll leave this last conversation up to him about the importance of an infrastructure view of technology for innovation. Kai, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So, this obviously is an impromptu replacement, and I'm happy to report on this. I want to acknowledge Robert Johnston, who is in the audience with us, and also Kai Riemer, my near-identical name twin. This is really nice when you go to publication counts on Google. People look at this CV, it's an impressive list of publications, and I'm not obliged to, correct the mistake. And Stefan Klein, who was my mentor and supervisor back in Münster. There's an ongoing research collaboration that this is coming out of. I want to start with one thesis, and that is we're used to seeing technology narrowly as a tool, and that is holding us back. That is clouding our view for the innovative potential of technology. Okay? What we need is what we call an infrastructure view. Now, I will clear up what that means. So first of all, we all know what tools are. Tools serve a purpose, right? Tools are associated with a task. A hammer is for hammering nails. It's for joining woods. It's for building houses. So we all have a fairly common sense understanding of what tools are. They're purpose-built. They're often used to precisely constrain people from doing other things. And they're usually understood in terms of a task. They have a function. Now, infrastructures are different. Okay? So we all know what infrastructures are, but I want to use the term infrastructure in a much broader sense. So we know infrastructures as in, plumbing, roads, telephone networks, and these are all infrastructures. But what I want to do is I want to take what we know about infrastructures as a perspective for viewing technology and the potential of technology. So infrastructures have certain characteristics, okay? Infrastructures are generally open, they're flexible, they accommodate and support multiple users. When they are new, they generally are only needed by a few people initially. So the users and what they become and where they sit in a social practice, in a business practice, in a use practice will emerge over time. So infrastructure are generally about creating new possibilities. Okay? So the thesis here then is we're being held back in our understanding of technology by a certain worldview that we all have. Okay? We generally understand technologies as tools. We do overlook the infrastructure characteristic of technology. And why is that? Because the way we treat technology, the way we're being educated into treating technology in our management methods, a very dominant view in, and we touch again on that, in contemporary MBA programs is that technology always has to serve a purpose. Okay? It's essentially a backward view. So you understand the technology as a tool because you have a problem, because you want to put it to use for some need that is already understood. So you're asking, what do my customers need? Right? You're asking, how can we solve a problem? And these are all valid questions, right? But they're often not letting us realize the true potential of technologies, and that is a potentially dangerous move. So usually what we do is we have a known problem, we do know what the technology is for as a tool, and we talk about it in terms of features. And we talk about it as bringing us from a point where we are to a future point. So that might sound all very obscure to you, but I will clear this up. Take the iPhone in 2007. And it's very revealing going back and reading the commentary about the iPhone in 2007 when it was released. What was the iPhone at that point? It was either a very expensive, gadgety phone with some fancy touchscreen, which was far too expensive for buying it for making phone calls, and wasn't even very good at that, right? So you either treat it as a phone, which means it's too expensive, or a bit more innovative, you treat it as a novel kind of smartphone. What are smartphones for? Well, smartphones are for texting a lot, for doing your calendar work, for emailing, and it wasn't very good at that because it didn't have a keyboard, right? So the BlackBerry was your choice, for sure. So at the time, it was pretty easy to dismiss the iPhone by taking this view and just saying, okay, here are the features, yeah, the touchscreen feels nice, it's nice, and you can do something with it. These were not the plans that Apple had. Apple built an infrastructure. The iPhone unlocked a vast flurry of innovation. And Adam showed us earlier how the iPhone is now a platform for delivering content into the living room. Most of the usage of the uses that we experience on the iPhone today weren't even invented in 2007. Okay? So treating the iPhone as an infrastructure would mean that we treat it as something that will potentially enable unknowable forms of use. Okay? However, it enables unknowable forms of use, right? How are we supposed to make a business case for it? So infrastructure is to unlock innovation. Infrastructure is for creating new potentials. And it's taking a very different view of what the future is also. The future is not an extension of the past. It's not a linear progression where we have a problem, we solve it, we make a better version of the past. The whole idea of technologies as infrastructure is to create a new future, which we cannot predict, which is fundamentally unknowable to us. The prime example for that discussion in Australia at the moment is the National Broadband Network. There's two proposals on the table. One is taking a tool view. It is treating the NBN as a better version of the current network. It's all about, yeah, it's faster download speed. We can download videos faster. Why would anyone spend so much money for fiber to the premise if you just want more of what we already have, a better version of what we already have? It doesn't make sense. So we're asking, what is the NBN good for? What are the business cases? What is the use case? Why would anyone invest into fiber to the premise? It's so expensive. Okay? What are we going to do with it? Well, the answer is we don't know. That's the whole point of investing in infrastructure. We want to unlock potentials in the future. We want to unlock innovation. We want to build a platform for people to innovate, to bring about new uses. And the benefits that will come from the NBN are fundamentally unknowable. Think about when cars were new at the time. Who needed cars? No one needed cars. Who needed the computer, the personal computer, when it was invented? A few people did. Would we want to live without it today? Probably not. So there's a lot of technologies that start out as infrastructures. If we as organizations treat them as tools, we're missing the point. So what happens now is that when we apply our methodologies, our methods for evaluating technologies, we're turning it into a tool. Right? We're asking, what are the use cases? Who's going to use it? What are the benefits? What is it good for? What problem does it solve? What is the customer need? What is the ROI? Show me the business plan and I give you the money. We're going to miss the point. It's holding us back. When we apply these methodologies, we're turning technologies into tools. We're asking the wrong questions, and we're not investing in the end, which limits our capacity to innovate. So taking an infrastructure view of technology, and I'm not just talking NBN, I'm talking any old technology. When email was new at the time, people resisted email. What was the use case? What would you use it for? What's the point of email? Organizations who jumped on email, they could see that it could potentially turn into something very exciting. They had a vision. So treating technology as infrastructure needs a vision and it needs a different management style. And we're only just beginning to see what that management style could be. This is what our research is about. So what we can see is that from a management standpoint, investing in technology, it means you fundamentally have to let go. You have to accept that you might not own this technology. The users have to get to use it, to own it, to make it their own. They have to appropriate the technology. It's all about self-organization. It's about leadership, not management from the top. We're back to what Adam said earlier. It's about vision and values. Enterprise social networking is a prime example of this kind of technology. Customers always ask, but what is it for? What can it do for us? Well, the way Yammer is selling it is as an infrastructure. We cannot really tell you what it will become, but your users will figure it out. And here are some stories, some examples of customers where this has worked. If you want to turn it into a product, if you want to predict its usage and its benefits, you're going to miss the point and you're likely to reject the technology, and that is our final statement is, it will limit the capacity to change and innovate. Treating technologies as tools is a backward-looking move. It is not about creating a new future, in bringing your organization to a fundamentally unknowable new place. It's all about making what you already have a little bit better, which sometimes is needed, but is not what creates innovation, disruptive change. And the most disruptive companies that we have in our economy at the moment, Apple and Google, they're in the infrastructure business. They're building platforms for people to creating new worlds. They're not in the tool business, fundamentally. Over time, these things become tools, but they all start out as infrastructures. And the point is, if you don't accept that perspective, you're going to miss the disruption and the disruptive potential of those technologies. Thank you.